All right, so this week's homework looks like this, week 2-4. And I'm going to go ahead and zoom in for our first question. It says, Mr. Campbell took out a simple interest loan to buy a brand new Ohio State sign. The cost was $5.50 over a term of 11 years. He paid a total of $3.93 in interest. What is the total interest rate? So starting here, we know that we're going to be using the simple interest formula. So I equals PRT. And off to the side, I'm just going to write all of the letters I for interest, P for principal, R for rate, and T for time. And as I look at these from the problem, I can then pull out each of the individual letters that they're going to give us. We know that $5.50 was the cost, so that is our principal is $5.50. And then we're going to have 11 years for time and $3.93 in interest. So from there, we have our rate that we're looking for. And so when we substitute these numbers in, we're going to have $3.93 equals $5.50 multiplied. And I like to write parentheses when I'm talking about multiplication. This is going to be multiplied times the rate and then times my time of 11 years. So this looks a little bit different because we aren't given the principal, the rate, and the time. This one we're given the interest, the principal, and the time. So one thing that we can do is we can take the numbers on the right side, the $5.50 and the 11, and multiply those out. And we'll be left with 60.50. And this will also, so we'll still have our R and 393. So then when we solve, our last step will be to divide, because we need to get the R by itself, because that's what we're solving for. We're going to take the $60.50 and divide both sides by that. And these 650 divided by 60/50 will be divided, that will be 1. And then we'll be left with R equals our answer. And remember that you'll be given a decimal. To change a decimal to a percent, you multiply by 100, because this needs to be in a percent form. All right. So here we have, what is the value for missing angle X? So here we have what we're looking for, and the one they're giving us is right here. So when two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, so these two, so this is, if I said this is Q and R, so Q and R are parallel, and this here is our transversal. So when a transversal cuts through two parallel lines, the angles that are formed here are exactly the same as the angles that are formed here. So if I'm knowing that, we will know that the angles will be the same. So since they gave us 110, that's located in the same spot as X, we'll know that X equals 110. All right, here we have solve for X. So when we see degrees, we know that we are going to be degrees on the inside of a triangle. We know the interior is 180 degrees. And that means that we can add if this is the measure of angle 1 equals 37, the measure of angle 2 equals 5x plus 1, the measure of angle 3 equals 37, we can add all of those up and they'll set equal to 180. So 37 plus 37 plus 5x plus 1. Then we just have our equation where we can combine our like terms, and once we combine our like terms, we will have 75 plus 5x equals 180 degrees. And then from there, we have to get our constants together so we can subtract from both sides. This will become 0 and we'll be left with 5x equals 105. And then our last will be to divide both sides, and we'll be left with how many degrees. All right, how many constants? So a constant, a number without a variable. All right, there's that day. So Tuesday, could the following side lengths form a right triangle? So in order to prove if something is a right triangle, if a squared plus b squared equals c squared, then you do have a right triangle. So the only thing with these numbers, the number set you're given, you have to make sure C is the longest. So like in this case, C would be here. This one would be C. And this one would be C. So A and B are interchangeable, and you can then plug them into our formula. So you'd have 1 squared plus 2 squared equals 3 squared. And then you have to see whether they equal each other or not. Okay, what is the value for the missing angle x? So again, we have these two lines are parallel. And here's our transversal. And if we're looking for x, so vertical angles are always congruent. So if we know that this is 115, and then we know that a transversal creates, so these 4 angles are going to be the same as these 4 angles, we'll be able to know to determine what x would be from there. All right. So this says circle the constants and box the variables in this story. So this is taking a little bit of a step back. So circling our constants or boxing a variable. Mr. Campbell's internet service costs $100 to sign up and then charges $50 each month. Miss Walton's internet service costs $220 to sign up, but only charges $10 for each month. So a constant is, doesn't change, and a variable does change. So in this, we know that there is $100 to sign up, and then this $50, we can get that by seeing for each month. And we know our other boxing our variables here and our constant. All right, so here's another one, solving for x. So when we're looking for the x number of degrees, we will have the total has to be total interior degrees equals 180. So we can add up the sum of our angles, so 3x plus 75 plus 30 equals 180. So when we combine our like terms, so here's our like terms here, 75 and 30, we're going to have 105, so 3x plus 105 equals 180. And then from here, we can subtract 105 from each side. And then this will become 0, and we'll be left with 3x equals, this will be 7. 10 minus 5 is 5. 7 minus 0 is 7. So we'll be left with 75, and that will equal 3x, and we'll get a number from there. So there's Tuesday. Moving on to Wednesday night's homework. What is the measure of the missing angle? So this is talking about the exterior angle theorem. So I want to point out here that the this angle, and this angle, those are you have 3 interior and 2 remote interior. So the 2 remote interior, I'm going to go ahead and highlight. So remote interior, I'm going to highlight right here. So our exterior angle theorem states that the sum of the remote interior equals your exterior. So that means you're going to have to add up your remote interior to equal your exterior, and that will give you x. All right. So here we go. It says add like terms. So add / combine. So since we have x's in all of these ones, we have like terms. We have y's here. We have x's here. So you're just going to want to make sure that you pay attention to signs. Don't change any signs. So it's going to be negative 8.5 plus 6.5, or you could rewrite that as 6.5x. So you're going to want to make sure to pay attention to your signs in each of these. So if we don't see one, you know that this is a positive. And right here. So make sure not to change any signs when looking at the equal sign. All right. So we'll be able to, when in doubt, punch it out. All right, going back to another one about lines. So we have parallel and parallel. And then this one here is our transversal. So again, when a transversal line cuts across 2 parallel lines, the 4 angles that it creates are the same in both places. Like the video that we watched when Pennsylvania Avenue crossed 12th and 25th Street. Then the angles that were created at one were the same as the angles at the other. So this is the same concept. And a good way to see whether I'm going to try and let me see here. If we see there's a straight line, so we know a straight line equals 180 degrees. So right here, we know that this right here has to be 180. So it's going to be 180 minus 97. And so this will become 7. 10 minus 7 is 3. 0. 17 minus 9 is 63. Wait, sorry. My bad. 83. And then from there, so we have 83, and we know vertical angles are congruent, so we have 97 and 83. So we've created this, we've completed this box. So if we were to take this box and move it up here, we would have the same 4 angles here for that. All right. Okay, this one says, Tony would like to buy a new iPhone 11 for $700. So far, he has saved $175. If he earns $9.50 per hour mowing lawns, what equation could represent the time it will take for him to save enough money to buy the phone? So they're asking us to write an equation, so we're going to go ahead and circle constants and box variables. So $700 is a fee that he has to pay. That is how much the phone costs. It's not changing. And this $175, that is how much he has saved. So that is a constant. It's not changing. Whereas this $909.50 is changing because it depends on the number of hours that he's working. So if I were to write an equation for this, I would want to make sure my 700 and my 175 did not have any variables attached. And I would want, so $700 equals the amount that he needs to earn. So he's going to have to add up 175 that he's already earned to the amount of money that he's able to earn, and this will be able to tell you the time that he would have to work, how many hours he would have to work. All right, and our last day of homework. Again, we have our interior angles. We have 3 interior angles, and then the exterior angle theorem is the sum of 2 remote interior equals the exterior. So that will mean you have to identify your remote interior angles, and then your exterior angle is right here. All right, so now we need to remember what variables are. Going back a little bit towards the beginning. Variables are unknown numbers represented by letters. So with that definition, you should be able to determine which ones have variables or not. And what is the missing angle? X. So again, parallel, and transversal. So again, I don't know how many times I've said it, but the 4 degrees that are created by a transversal will be the same where the transversal cuts the second parallel line. And that vertical angles are always congruent. So this is going to be X, and this is also going to be 65. So I can determine what they're looking for. So here, I can see that 65 is going to go here, and 65 is going to go here. So that's not X. So X does not equal 65, but I can determine what that is by knowing that this whole thing has to be 180 degrees. So I can take 180 and subtract 65, and I'll be able to get how many degrees are there. And our last question, it says, Bill and Angie are selling gift baskets at a craft fair. Their costs are $75 for the table and $12 per basket. They sell each basket for $20. Let B equal the basket sold. Which inequality shows Bill and Angie making a profit? All right, so going back to circling constants and boxing variables, we have their $75, that's for each table, for the table. And then we have $12 per basket, so that depends on the number of baskets. And then they're going to sell each basket for $20. So it looks like each of these answer choices has they all have the constants and variables in the correct place. So that means we need to look here. It says, which inequality shows Bill and Angie making a profit? So meaning they have to be making a profit would be larger. So the amount that they have spent, the amount that Bill and Angie have spent is less than the amount of money that they're earning. So go ahead and look at those questions and figure out which inequality would make them have a profit. All right, hopefully this helps and that you have a great week.